What's up? It's that time of year again. It is Fat Bear Week 2022, and I am very excited to, share this wonderful week with you and to, take a look at the bears this year and to vote for the biggest bear, as well as to provide some analysis. So for those who don't know, Fat Bear Week is an annual event hosted by Katmai National Park in Alaska, in which the park will take pictures of the biggest bears at the park that year and then post it online in a tournament, and the public will vote on who is the fattest bear that year. What I like to do here is I like to analyze the bears and give you the correct opinion on who is the fattest bear. And I say the correct opinion because I want to give you my credentials. I am a obesity expert, that is, an expert in bear obesity. So this is my third year in doing this, and I will say, even though I am an expert in my field, I am always learning. I believe that a true scholar is always open to learning and mastering their craft further. And so I've decided that this year I want to change things up a little bit in how I analyze and vote for the bears. Because there's two main ways in which you can vote for decide who is the fattest bear. Either you can look at pure mass, which is what I've done in the past, and then you could look at the most progress, because they do take before and after pictures, as you will see once we get started. Because, they come out of hibernation, they're usually quite thin, and then after that you can, look at their after pictures, which is taken in the fall right before hibernation, and you can see who's made a lot of progress, because some bears have gained more weight and made more progress compared to others. But then I decided that this year I want to combine these two aspects. In the last year's tournament, in the kind of the finals, and I think a little bit of the semifinals, I tried to take into account progress. And so this year I want to incorporate that into my, analysis. This year's matchup is super interesting to me because there is a very good mix of bears that are veterans and have been in the game for a while, as well as some bears that have never competed, and this is their very first year competing. So I think that this is really interesting. I'm really curious to see if there's going to be anyone that, rises to the top, if there's any hidden talents this year. And so I'm just really curious to see what's gonna happen. Let's just get started with our bears. Once cub, now sub, will 335 make her mark as a mischievous meatball of a bear? Or will she fall short of 164, the avant-garde fledgling fisher under the falls? You decide in this first round of Fat Bear Week. I want to fill you in on a little bit of the history of the bears this year, and give you some kind of background info on who these competitors are. So according to my notes, 335 is the daughter of 435 Holly, the queen of corpulence and winner of a couple of Fat Bear Week, tournaments. Now this is her first time entering into Fat Bear Week, which is very exciting. And she's one of the youngest this year. So I think that she's very brave for having come out this year and deciding to participate in Fat Bear Week. As for 164, this is also his first time entering into Fat Bear Week. But it should be noted that he's a bit of a special bear in that he's a bit of a trailblazer. He tends to hang out at the deepest edge of the pool where the bears fish. That's why they called him avant-garde, because nobody goes there. Let's dive into the analysis. So when you compare 335 to 164 based on a pure raw mass perspective, even though we can't see the entirety of 164, they're not super even in the sense that 164 clearly is bigger than 335. And then when we look at the category of overall improvement, it doesn't seem to me that 335 made a ton of improvement between these pictures, which is fine. She hasn't gotten used to training. She's still really young. She's probably still building up her fatness and her ability to gorge herself on salmon. So, we should all applaud her for having shown up in the first place. I think it can be very intimidating to show up to Fat Bear Week, with such heavy weights, as we will see later on. both in this video and further on in the competition. But I think, I'm not going to really get too into it. I think it's very obvious that 164 is the bigger bear, so I'm going to vote for 164. So here are the results. We can see that 164 is winning by a very large margin. Goodbye, 335. I hope that we see you next year. I'm looking forward. I think we should, keep track of her and see how she will progress. Now we're going to go into the second matchup of the day, that being 747 versus 856. Today's second matchup is the battle of the big boy behemoths. Will the well-rounded and wide-bodied 747 displace enough water to wash out 856? Or will 856's smoldering gaze and supreme stomach smother the competition? Which refrigerator of a bear will you vote for? Both of these bears have been in the game for quite a while. 747 has competed every single year since 2015. And has had a mixed result in terms of how far he's gotten into the game. His very first year, he was eliminated fairly quickly in the first couple of rounds, whereas his second year, in 2016, he arrived all the way to the semifinals, so that is a pretty big jump. In 2020, he was the champion, which was very impressive. So he has a very long history at Fat Bear Week. He's also been extremely successful. And, I do want to take a moment here to say that I think that he is going to, regardless of the truth of this scenario, I think that he's going to beat 856. I think there's a very likely chance, not because of his enormity, but purely based on fan favorites. I have been taking a look at taking a look at social media. I've been lurking a little bit on different sites, seeing what people have to say, and I've seen some clear camps of, people have their favorite bears, and so I think that the public opinion will be swayed on a little bit of emotion. In fact, a lot of emotion. And so I can, I already predict that 747 is probably going to beat out 856, unfortunately, but I will not, I will continue to analyze these bears. I do want to give 856 a chance. He competed from 2016 to 2018, took a break in 2019, appeared again in 2020, and then took a break last year. So he's been a little bit on and off. Now, unfortunately for 856, he does not have a good track record with Fat Bear Week, and I suspect that maybe his absences have been due to a little bit of, embarrassment, since every single year he has been eliminated in his first round, which is very sad. It's gotta be tough to show up year after year and be eliminated immediately. Now, what's really interesting about 856 is these two have some beef in real life too, in that for 9 years, 856 was the dominant bears, or one of the most dominant bears, at Katmai National Park at the falls. But very recently, as in last year, 747 nudged him out. He kicked him out, and now he is the dominant bear. So it's really interesting. Is 747 going to continue this dominance into the competition, or will 856 be able to edge out? So let's take a look at overall mass. Now, looking at them, I think it is fairly obvious that 747 is very big boned, and I think that gives him a huge advantage over the other bears. He is truly just a massive bear. And these angles are a little bit hard to tell, especially with 856. Let's scroll down a little bit. You can see he's cut off by the water. I do wish that we had a bit of a better shot of him, and so it's a little bit more equal. But overall, I would say that 747, from a mass perspective, might edge out 856 slightly. I think they are extremely close. And so if we were going to go by a mass perspective, I might give the win to 747. However, when we look at improvement, I think it's fairly obvious that, 856 made a lot of improvement. He is a little bit fluffier in this picture, but do not let the fluff deceive you. Okay, I'm the Bexpert, I'm the obesity Bexpert. I'm very aware of how fluff may manipulate an image, And I would think that, you know, I think that 856 is a little bit smaller than 747. It is extremely close. And so personally, I do think that in my expert opinion, I will give this win to 856 just because of the improvement and the fact that he does, to me, appear bigger, slightly, and also taking into account the fact that he just looks fatter. He just looks rounder compared to 747. But I know that there's an extremely high chance that 747 is going to win, and, you know, even if he does win, I'm not going to be mad about it. And as predicted, 747 did win out 856, but not as much of a landslide as I thought it would. I thought that 856 would have way fewer votes compared to 747. So, while I do think 856 edges out 747 slightly, from a mass perspective, again, as I said earlier, I do think 747, if you put him on a scale, would be heavier. But when taking into account all of the other factors, you know, again, I think that 856 should have won this round, but they're so close that I think it's completely reasonable that the public voted for 747. And so, tragically, 856 was once again eliminated in the very first round that he appeared in. And so, you know, I just want to say 856, try again next year, and even if you don't win, it's still lovely to see your face. I think you're looking great this year. And so I do hope to see 856 next year. I really hope that this doesn't dampen his spirits too much. Anyways, that concludes Fat Bear Week 2022, Day 1. I'll be back here tomorrow with the next matchup. I hope to see you then too. Peace.